Okay, you're right. Welcome to your video tutorial. Today we are going to learn about goods and services tax, or that fun thing that we like to call GST. Okay, the advertised price of anything you buy in the shops, at a restaurant, anything that's purchased, any work that you pay for, it includes GST. GST is a tax on top of an original amount, and it is taxed by the government. In Australia, our goods and services tax is set at 10%. So today we're going to have a look at calculating GST and calculating the cost of items before GST. So calculate how much GST is payable on a table that the manufacturer values at $289. Okay, we're awesome at finding out 10%. What a super great skill I've already taught you. If 289 is 100%, 10%, move the decimal spot, $28.90. We've been doing this for weeks. Awesome. A bill from a landscaper gardener. If he's charged us $2,190, what was the original amount before GST? Well, what's 10% of 2,190? Move the decimal spot 1 point, and my answer is $219. Look at how easy this is. Okay, let's look at it for the reverse way. The bike had a GST of $38. It wasn't worth $38. Not after GST was it $38, but that's how much GST it had on it, $38. What was the price of the bike before GST? Well, this is where we're going to use our calculator, okay? $38 represents 10%. We need to find what 100% is, or what it was worth, 100% of its value before GST. Now, this is the tricky bit. You know how I told you a mental strategy to find 10%, because from 10% you can find anything? Well, I'm going to show you a new one, okay? Particularly when working with your calculator. The easiest thing to do is to take it back to 1%. So if $38 is 10%, I can divide 38 by 10, and that'll find 1%. And if I divide $38 by 10 on my calculator, I get $3.80. Okay, that's 1%. Okay, and then to find out what 100% is, I times $3, I'm going to do it down here, $3.80 by 100. Okay, and that gets me $380. You might be able to look at it and see, oh yeah, that makes sense, because if $38 was 10%, $380 must have been 100% of it, because 38 is 10% of 380. That works. So a good practice I always like to use is to divide it back and find 1%, and then use that 1% to get anywhere. Because from that 1% I could find 25, 30, 50, 90, 102. I can do anything if I have 1%. Now, if the initial price before GST was $380, what's the price after GST? Well, if it's initially $380 and the GST was $38, that means that my price of my bike after GST is $418, because it is the original amount plus the GST to get the new price. Okay, let's have a look at something. The final price at a cafe, including the 10% GST, was $137.50. What was the price pre-GST? Ooh, gosh. So this $137.50 represents all of the initial cost plus 10%. Let me say that again. This $137.50 represents all of the initial cost plus 10%. Okay, so this kind of equals 110%. If I want to find out the cost before GST, I don't want 110%. I only want 100. Because it is a percentage, it's part of the total. It's not 10, it's 110%. I go back and find 1%. Finding 1% is called the unitary method, and it's so much easier. So if 137.50 is 110%, I go 137.50 divided by 110. That gives me an answer of 125. Okay. So that's what 1% is. 125 equals 1%. To find out 100% of the cost, or the cost before GST, okay, I take that 125 and I times it by 100 and I get an answer of 125. Quick way to check and see if I'm right. If it was $125 initially, okay, 10% of 125 is $12.50. Okay, so I'm expecting, if I got my answer right, that 125 plus $12.50 is 137.50. And when I add it up, I calculated in my head, yep, that makes sense. 125 plus $12.50 is 137.50. And that's it, guys. They're the kind of questions that you could be asked when working out GST.